This is Meat Mitch, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Hey there, welcome to the Barbecue Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things that are important to the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evenings, a live fire, fun, and frivolity show. More on that here in a second. If you want to follow the show during off-show hours, here's how you do all that.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at BBQCentralShow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you can get the newsletter, because guess what? You didn't get the newsletter. Well, maybe you got the newsletter, but in actuality, this show or series of shows, 1 and 2, Wednesday, Thursday, that you'll find in the podcast feed, because there was no live show Tuesday night, I'm doing what we call the new content to you. So we don't just go without new shows, because I will be in Tampa, Florida for day job Peterbilt stuff, meeting with the highest level of a company that I've just struck an incredible deal with. So we're meeting in person and getting to know each other on a little bit more intimate fashion. High-level meetings Tuesday afternoon, and then a subsequent gluttonous dinner and nonsense after that, and then coming right back on Wednesday. So instead of doing the live show Wednesday, it is the bonus week of this month. There's usually one a quarter where you get 5 weeks out of the month instead of the traditional 4 weeks. That's what we're looking at this time around. So this is the 5th week. You would know that because we had the embedded correspondence last week, and they are 4th Tuesday of the month regular guests in the second hour, and that's typically the one that finishes out whatever month that we're in. But we have the bonus month here in October. So coming up after the preamble, I mentioned it during last week's show, the Barbecue Museum will be meeting with Alex Pope in just a few short mementos. And Alex is going to talk to us about the Barbecue Museum, how it came to be, what kind of a build-out time they're looking at, what's going to be in it. There was a couple of local news items that were interspersed over the last week or two, giving you some kind of an insight, but we'll get a little bit more detail from Alex. There was another guy that I was introduced to first who told me under no uncertain terms he actually had no time for the show to talk about the Barbecue Museum, but said, let me put you in touch with the guy who evidently has more time than the first guy, Alex, and then he'll talk to you all about it and set expectation, let you know what's going to be in it. All that fun stuff. John did laugh at me a little bit because he said, there's no way you're going to go to the Barbecue Museum. Even though I said there's a 100% chance that at some point, I didn't put a time on it. I didn't put my name on it. But I said that I would go at some point, but that certainly leaves it open for a lot of time to elapse before I get there. Just like at some point I may or may not ever go. I may go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I feel like at this point so much time has elapsed that I probably won't go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame just out of spite for no good reason. But there's an outsider's chance that I might go. And as I said last week, I have partaken in all of the various museums that Cleveland has to offer. I fancy myself a bit of a sophisticate in those regards. Finally made it to the Cleveland Orchestra last year. They're world famous, one of the very few orchestras left in the world. They were phenomenal, as billed, surpassed expectation. If you're a lover of classical music like me, you ever get into the city, for whatever reason, I don't know what brings you to Cleveland, but the Cleveland Orchestra should bring you to Cleveland to check it out in person if you ever get here. Or, again, if you like that kind of stuff, you should get here solely for that. Take advantage of the theater district that we have as well. Second biggest to New York City, if you can believe that or not. So we have Alex Pope coming up in just a few short ones. Don't forget you can follow me socially on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snappy Chat, and LinkedIn, all at the handle at BBQ Central Show. I would say good evening to all of you watching tonight, but we're not watching anything tonight. I do not have a subsequent new YouTube poll question of the week because I'm not asking anybody that because this is all pre-recorded. However, I do have the results of last week's poll question where I asked everybody, have you tried the McDonald's Chicken Big Mac? And 80% of you said, indeed, no, you have not. Again, I'm shocked that it was 80% no. I thought we would be a little bit closer to 50-50 than 80-20 and 80 being on the no. But you never know. This is how these things go. I had opportunity to try a Chicken Big Mac yesterday. I forewent the opportunity. But we were in a McDonald's coming back from Seton Hill University, where the Seton Hill University Griffins men's football team notched a victory against Clarion, so we love that. Quentin Posey, defensive back superstar of the PSAC, had an outstanding game, many solo tackles, interruptions, hurries, you name it. That kid's a talent. And also, because I've mentioned him on the show, we want to mention a shout out to Todd, who had an exceptional game receiving the ball. I believe he had one reception for 80 yards, and he had another one for 50 plus. He had a third one for 40 plus. Those might have been the only 3 times they threw to him. We might want to have a conversation with the offensive coordinator, dumbass, because Todd was open, and I think he only threw to him 3 times, 2 of which resulted in touchdowns, and he had probably 300 yards in reception, maybe close to 600 yards. It was a phenomenal receiving day. I've never seen a guy so open. Watching the Browns play today, we're recording this on Sunday, and I haven't seen a Brown this open. Todd was open 3 times. Substantial receiving yard, perhaps the best in his career. He did it. And he did it well. So congratulations to the Seton Hill Griffins. And, of course, before we get to Alex, I do want to mention that I got a number of emails from you folks talking about your appreciation of my opening monologue from last week's show. Steve Ray from Tennessee, touching tribute to your wife and the war on cancer you two have waged. Like you, I have learned that nothing compares to our wives. Here's to 50 more years and many, many more. So, Steve, appreciate that. Also, Dennis Busso, our official Colorado correspondent, saying best effing show ever. I don't know about the rest of the show because I'm just getting through it now, but it doesn't matter. That was the best show ever. Michelle and I cheered and toasted Rebecca Bell Rempe's 50th birthday, such a landmark in so many ways. When we both woke up at 1:30 to get ready for work, we both said what a great night's sleep we had because of the opening monologue of your show. Enjoy that 50th, and there will be many more. Dennis, appreciate that. Not going to spill Dennis's business, but someone that can relate to the fight that Rebecca and I have gone through here. Now, approaching 2 years, about a month's time, it will have been 2 years since this whole thing actually started to ramp up and get going, a little bit before we actually knew that cancer was afoot. But we are right in the time now where we knew something wasn't right, or at least Becky knew something wasn't right, started checking out some doctors to say, hey, not feeling so great. What are we doing here? What should we do here? So, yeah, it's starting to get on a 2-year period. Time flies, man. And again, as I said last week, second guess everything, question everything, do all that if you are in the midst of it. Get second opinions, third opinions. There are no minimum number of opinions you should be getting. And by the way, never think for 1 second that you are insulting a doctor or anything like that. Who cares? It's not a recipe. This isn't a secret rub. This is life. So who cares who you're offending? By the way, if a doctor is offended because you're getting second, third, fourth, fifth opinions, maybe not a doctor you want to be palling around with. Anyway, we got Alex Pope coming up here shortly. Before we get to him, we'll talk about our friends over at Schwank Grills. Great sponsor of the show. Everybody's talking about it. You've seen a lot of social media on it, the Schwank Grill. What do you need to know? The unit heats up to 1,500 degrees using infrared burner technology. What does that mean to you? Now you can grill the juiciest steaks you've ever tasted in as little as 10 minutes? No. How about 3 or 4 minutes? Indeed. No more wasting your life cooking the proteins you want. Schwank Grills does it quickly with great results. Of course, that infrared burner technology they had mentioned. Steakhouses across the land using Schwank's technology, to include Morton Steakhouse, Del Frisco's, Cut 432, just to name a few. Remember, at 1,500 degrees, if you're a steak lover, can build that delicious crust on both sides without overcooking the steak. It's incredibly juicy and flavorful. Nothing like it. Some are calling it the future of grilling. But the Central Lights want a deal. I know you guys. I'm right here to help. Right now, if you go to schwankgrills.com, SCHWANK, schwankgrills.com. If you use promo code BBQ Central at checkout, you can save $150 off any Schwank grill. It's that easy to save money and enjoy restaurant quality heat. There's also a link in the show notes, the show newsletter. You can go to the homepage of the show and click on the Schwank Grills logo as well. Many different ways to get there. Just remember, if you want to save $150, because who doesn't, use promo code BBQ Central when you're checking out. And they have a connected liquid propane, and they also have natural gas conversion as well if you want to hook that Schwank grill right up to the house if you're running natural gas into the house. Not my preference, but you do you. Promo code BBQ Central at schwankgrills.com, and we'll be back with Alex Pope right after this. Stick around, we'll be right back.
You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Broadcasting live from the BBQ Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. You first visit cookinpellets.com's website to see their products, and then when you're ready to buy, go to amazon.com or walmart.com or lowes.com to purchase. Same great products on those websites, just way better shipping rates, as told to me by the owner of cookinpellets.com, Chris Beck. So nobody's getting over on anybody. Don't worry about that. Everybody's happy. We talked about it last week in the second hour during the embedded correspondence, not in any kind of depth, but we mentioned it with the surety questions, which was the barbecue museum going in at Kansas City. We didn't really know too much about it other than I had seen some news stories that were popping up. and wanted to mention it on the show. And in a week's time, we have turned it around. We're going to get to know way more about what's going on in Kansas City with this barbecue museum with a first-time guest and, let's say, new friend of the show, Alex Pope, joining me. Alex, appreciate you joining me here on the show as we are pre-recording in advance of a Tuesday show since I'll be out of town. So hopefully I'm not putting you away from any football. I see you got some Kansas City stuff on. I'm right in the middle of a Cleveland Browns game that I have decidedly opted to not watch on purpose. So, it's a tale of two cities. I don't need to tell that to you. Before we get into it, maybe a little background on you, what your level of live fire interest is, and we can build from there.
Sure. So I started my career as a restaurant chef and did fine dining for a while. And then I started a butcher shop, a whole animal, locally sourced butcher shop called Local Pig. And we're still operating Local Pig. And we've added a sandwich shop that goes along with it called Big Witch. And so that is my usual focus, the restaurant and the meat market. And now I'm helping a good friend open this museum of barbecue. I am part of the ownership group, but I am really here to help with technical issues and any sort of business side things. So it should be an amazing exhibit when it's all ready to go.
Have you always been a butcher?
No, I was a self-taught butcher in restaurants. I wanted to bring in locally sourced meats, so that involved just getting whole beef and whole hogs, and so I self-taught with books and some videos, and then opened the meat market. And we've been up and running for 12 years. I don't actively butcher anymore, but I had done it for years and years, and I have been arm deep in meat for years and years.
Have you? Are you in Kansas City?
Yes, we are located in Kansas City, Missouri.
Missouri. Okay, so that's the barbecue side.
Yep.
I went to a restaurant. I don't even know if it's open anymore. So this was going on maybe 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. That's probably even longer than that. I don't travel anywhere. I was in Kansas City for a volleyball tournament with my oldest daughter. And one of the nights for dinner, we went to Anton's. Is that still a place that exists?
Yeah, Anton still exists. It's a couple miles from our location downtown. Yep.
What I found unique,
similar sort of concept.
Okay, so what I found unique was they were bringing animals down into the basement or whatever. You had a butcher shop side, but then there was a restaurant side where you were, obviously had the option of getting the steaks and whatever else they're serving there. But it was something that I haven't seen in Cleveland really ever. And it looks like there's at least two options out in Kansas City.
Yeah. So Anton's does a butcher shop side and a upscale steakhouse. We do a butcher shop side and a burgers and barbecue sandwich restaurant.
What's the best ground combination to make a burger?
Chuck or a blend of chuck and brisket. But chuck has, if you just want to get one piece and grind that up, chuck has the optimal fat to lean ratio. And chuck, being the shoulder, gets a lot of work. It's got a lot of flavor. So chuck is usually my go-to.
All right, let's get you in trouble.
All right, let's do it.
Best barbecue restaurant in Kansas City, Missouri is?
My favorite right now is Slaps. That is actually on the KCK side, but it's a great place. I love the vibe. I love the food. It's a great place.
Yeah, Joe Pierce and everybody over there are tremendous. I've actually so when I went to Anton's, I was at Slaps, and we went to I don't remember. Plow. Well, I don't even know if it's open anymore, but Todd John's Plowboys, which I think have all closed at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, Plowboys is closed. My tied for first place would be Harp Barbecue as well. Tyler Harp's a absolute great pit master. Does excellent brisket.
All right, good. Now that I can say I agree with you, although it's been many years. Slaps was a tremendous barbecue experience to me, and Joe treat me like $1,000,000, which I certainly appreciate. He's a big fan of the show, and I'm a big fan of his. Tell me about the barbecue museum, what the genesis of this thing looks like, and then ultimately how we're going to get to an end product.
So Jonathan Bender is my partner in this, and he's a longtime food writer. So he has been doing journalism in the food world for 20 years, and he has been talking to me about this idea pre-pandemic. He wanted to open this museum of barbecue, and he was getting a little serious about it in 2019, 2020, right before pandemic, which just kind of put a crash on everything. And about a year ago, he started talking to me again about, hey, this sounds interesting. And he was looking for someone that could help him with the business side of it. So, I've been running my business for 12 years. I've got a good grasp on what a retail store looks like and, general business ops. So that was the genesis. I think Jonathan has correctly seen a window of opportunity to teach a large portion of the population some of the nuts and bolts of barbecue. And that is where we'd like to step in. Our target demo is going to be people that maybe aren't huge fans of barbecue, but are kind of interested and don't know a whole lot. So we want to give those folks a big, broad overview.
Kansas City itself could probably have, if they don't already, its own barbecue hall of fame. It's widely considered to be a barbecue mecca. You talk about Kansas City and then Memphis, Texas, of course, and then Carolinas being those meccas that everybody seems to know. But this is going to be something that encompasses all forms of barbecue.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. A Hall of Fame can and should exist, but that is not the goal of what we are up to. That would be something with a lot of granular detail. Whereas we're trying to do a real big picture overview and absolutely focusing on those 4 regions. Lots of focus on the big 4 regions plus some elements. So rubs, meats, smoke, fire, different talking points and different fun interactive ways to learn about all of those elements of barbecue.
What have you guys decided on where the starting point of barbecue was going to be for you?
Yeah, so we went back and forth, but we ended up on meat. So, could it be fire? It could be fire. Could it be meat? It could. We ended up on meat.
How far do you bring it out? Do you come to present day? Is it something from a museum's standpoint where the end will always be evolving and, whatever the latest end is going to now be a benchmark in time and we're pushing out? Like, how often do you update it and stuff like this?
Yeah, we have discussed that, updates could absolutely happen. We want to get at least 6 to 12 months in before we start thinking about tinkering with anything. But, this really isn't a chronological museum in like a traditional museum sense. This is more of a large scale exhibit, art installation that is going to give folks the big time overviews. So, when you think about rub, could we update rub? For sure. But, when we think about the room that is going to talk about rubs, there's not going to be massive changes that are going to really be made. But, if you're someone who has literally never barbecued anything, you maybe don't know what the big components of rub are. And we want to show you, we want to break it down so that you demystify it in a sense, becomes less intimidating and more approachable. So this isn't going to be a chronological, deep dive museum in that sense.
This is going to be a physical space that people can go to.
Yep. This will be a large retail store with basically a walkthrough installation exhibit that will have points for photographs, points for interaction, and points for education and touch points. I mean, ways you can read different histories, read different explainers, play some fun little games, take some awesome pictures, that kind of thing.
Where we at in it's ready to open status?
We're shooting for spring. So we have the space. We have the majority of the concepts done. The majority of the licensing done. We are in the process of building out the installations right now. So hopefully, spring break of 25 is the goal.
Are there any humans specifically mentioned? I think that too. There's a whole bunch of different Hall of Fames that are dedicated to humans. Are you staying out of humans?
In a large sense, yes. We will be doing a deep dive into the deepest of the dives will be into the Kansas City history of Kansas City barbecue, naturally, and it will have some touch points on the very first, the folks who really brought it up very first. But in a large part, this is not going to have any practitioners from the last 80 years.
You've mentioned retail space a couple different times. Is there going to be a section then where you're looking to drive some revenue as well? And what are people going to be buying? Yeah,
we do want to bring the options from all four regions to the retail space. So I don't know what it's like in Cleveland, but I can't just go and get Carolina sauce and Texas style sauces here in my normal area. So we want to bring all four regions, a bunch of the retail from a bunch of the different famous barbecue joints to one place. And then hopefully give folks some education about the best ways to use a Carolina sauce versus a Memphis sauce, where you would use it, where it could go on. So some education, and then put product in people's hands so they can actually get out there and do it.
What's the expectation of success, or what does success look like in its first year after it opens?
Yeah, well, I mean, from a business point, from a year, we want to continue to be operating, but that's a pretty low bar. Above that, we want to get some, we would love to be in a place where the folks that are visiting Kansas City are making us a stop on the circuit. So, we do anticipate the majority of our guests will be tourists and folks that are visiting, and we have placed ourselves in a high traffic tourist area, and specifically this it's called Crown Center. It's a big indoor mall style space with big hotels attached to it, right at the edge of downtown. So our goal is to make sure that the folks that are visiting are aware we're here, and would be a great adjunct to anybody that is looking to experience some great barbecue restaurants. We are not truly affiliated with any restaurant. We are trying to be agnostic to all restaurants. We want to highlight all the great players that exist in town and, in all the other regions without having skin in the game.
Seems like that's a pretty expensive location to be at. Are you supplemented from a funding standpoint, or you have investors, or just you and Jonathan putting your bones together to try to make this work?
We have secured enough funding to get what we think will get this off the ground. We have gotten a few sponsors that are going to be helping us get this going. The ink is not quite dry on those deals, so I can't actually talk about them too much, but they're some really great local, national folks that fit into this space. And, we would love to talk to more of them, but we've got what we need to get ourselves going. This will be a business that will take some funding, but we feel like we're in a good position to make this work.
Anything else we need to know now before we actually open up potentially in the spring? And then, of course, we can always check in down the line.
I want to make sure everyone is thinking this is a great place for families. We are talking about this in an intergenerational sense. So, maybe you want to come and you're with your daughter and you guys are at a volleyball game. Maybe you think your daughter wouldn't inherently be interested in a museum of barbecue. It's not a subject perhaps that is captivating to her on the same level as you, but we are looking to make a space that people of all ages will find informative and entertaining. So this will definitely be geared towards families. Children are going to love this place, and we are going to have a spot or things that all sorts of ages will find interesting.
Is there a website or a social handle?
Yep, museumofbarbecue.co, and then that is the website, and then Museum of Barbecue, all one word, are the social handle.
So is it barbecue, BARBECUE, or is it BBQ?
BBQ.
Museum of BBQ.co and Museum of BBQ
CO.
on social, which is great. All right.
Yes, sir.
This is Alex Pope talking to us about the Museum of Barbecue out there in Kansas City. Alex, appreciate the time here and taking some moments from your Sunday, but much appreciated. And as I said, I'm happy to check in down the line once we get open and see how it's running for you.
Absolutely. We'd love to be back on. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Alex. Alex Pope right there talking to us about the Museum of Barbecue. Once again, the website is museumofbbq.co. That's C-O. And you can find them socially at Museum of BBQ as well. So make sure you're giving them a follow on all the social medias, and make sure you're planning to be out there if you're going to Kansas City for whatever reason. And that's Kansas City, Missouri side, and not the Kansas City, Kansas side. One of those weird things where you can have a Kansas City in two different states. There are Clevelands in like Cleveland, Tennessee, I think, Cleveland, Texas. So I guess now that I think about it, it's not that weird. But to me, it's weird because it's pretty close. I believe there's two Kansas Cities really close to each other. Cleveland, Texas, not very close to Cleveland, Tennessee, or Cleveland, Ohio. I'm getting myself all confused. Let's stop confusing ourselves and talk about the friends that we have over here at Pits and Spits. If you're serious about your grilling game, then you need to check out the latest from Pits and Spits that just launched 2 game-changing products that will take your outdoor cooking to the next level. The griddle and built-in pellet grill. Let's kick things off with the Pits and Spits griddle. The gas griddle combines the power of traditional grill with the versatility of a flat-top griddle, engineered with precision and crafted from top-quality materials. This versatile griddle is set up to revolutionize your outdoor cooking experience. Constructed in that popular and well-known 304 marine-grade stainless steel that Pits and Spits uses, and a fully welded design, the griddle comes with 4 burners to accurately manage your heat zones and get blistering hot with 80,000 BTUs. Made with Pits and Spits signature quality, this griddle is designed to last for generations. Now, for those of you building your ultimate outdoor kitchen, you have to check out the built-in pellet grill that Pits and Spits makes, designed for the discerning grill master who demands top-tier performance. The grill is the centerpiece of any serious outdoor kitchen. From low and slow smoking to high heat searing, this grill can handle it all. Brisket, ribs, pizzas, veggies, you name it, you can cook it. And with the Pits and Spits legendary craftsmanship, you can be confident it's built to last. The stainless steel construction and a design that is reliable and versatile. So you're able to take your cooking level to the next... So are you ready to take your cooking to the next level? The answer is yes. Then you need to head over to pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central and use code BBQ Central for a free spice pack with an order of $500 or more. Easy to attain there. Again, that's pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central and then promo code BBQ Central for a free spice pack. We're back right after this. Stick around. I'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
Welcome back. We thank Alex Pope for joining us. museumofbbq.co is the website, Museum of BBQ on social media. Give them a follow. This segment brought to you by Fireboard, makers of the Fireboard 2, Fireboard Pro, Fireboard Spark, Fireboard Beacon, and the new Fireboard Pulse. When you use the Fireboard app, you have total access to all devices anywhere in the world. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. And the question is this. After hearing about it from Alex himself, are you motivated to go to the Museum of Barbecue? Is it a yes or is it a no? I can tell you this, and I can only speak for me, as we'll get your reaction through the course of the week otherwise. I'm down. Am I sitting here busting out my schedule, ready to get my name on a list, get airfare or driving, whatever? Not at the moment. But once we get a firm opening date, then I can certainly look at it. I don't think it's anybody's in my family that's going to be hugely motivated to say, hey, let's go to Kansas City and check out the Museum of Barbecue. But I'm sure there's some local pals around here that are interested enough after hearing Alex go through it, giving us the setup, how this came to be, what you might be able to expect as you venture out into Kansas City, Missouri, and add it to the list of things to do. I mean, what would be better? Going to Kansas City, eating your way through a number of the most revered barbecue spots, which obviously Slaps Barbecue seems to be one of them. Good job, Joe, for getting the mention from Alex. Producing great food out there. But what would be better than going through those great stalwart places and then taking in the Museum of Barbecue? There will be a little bit of a focus on Kansas City, but this is all encompassing. So once you get through the Kansas City side of things, eating, now you can go through the museum and check out all the different stuff that's going to be in there, touch points, information, things that you can learn a little bit more about, maybe you didn't know. And I think it potentially runs a nice, fun line of having somebody like me who's a little bit more on the nerdy scale of the history of barbecue in general. And then if you have a significant other or a kid, like we had mentioned, I had been in Kansas City for a volleyball tournament. I probably wouldn't go otherwise without some kind of standing business to be there. But if we were down for a day or we weren't starting until the afternoon wave, you could get up, have breakfast, and then I would certainly say, hey, Bob, you want to go check out the Museum of Barbecue while we're in Kansas City before volleyball starts for the day? Or maybe we have a down day. We can eat together and then check out the museum. Many different scenarios make this a real possibility. I'm interested to see what the business is going to look like a year from now, 2 years from now. Does it grow? Does it become more of a revenue-interested thing with a museum attached to it? Those things will play out here over the course of time. And then, of course, as you are finding yourself in Kansas City, you're sending me your feedback to check it out. Some of you might be motivated enough just to make a destination across the nation visiting. Live in Florida. Now that it's open, I'm going to Kansas City to check out the museum, see what they have there. So in any event, let me know what you think, of course, on if you will go. And then in a year from now, or maybe springtime from now, when the thing finally opens and you get there, if I haven't been there before you send me your reaction to what you liked about or what you didn't like about it. That's what we like about this show. No expectations. We want your takes, your unadulterated takes. Where am I at in my read? We through? I guess, because we're going to wrap up the first hour right after this, even though it hasn't been an hour. 40 minutes. Hey, what do we love about ceramic cookers? We love that they are fuel efficient. We love that you can achieve low and slow temperatures for traditional barbecue meats. We love that they can get rip-roaring hot for the high-temperature grilling of steaks and other thin cuts. But what's missing in the everyday ceramic cooker lineup? the real ability to do true two-zone cooking. It's very important to both professional and backyard cooks alike. The best way to manage a fire, we know this. However, getting a two-zone fire and a round ceramic cooker isn't very realistic. Why? Because it's round. Enter Primo Grill and the game-changing oval design. The shape gives you the ability to execute that two-zone setup that you desire. It also gives you the other ceramic grill benefits as well. When you break it down, there's more than 60 different ways to configure the Primo cooker, so you're only limited by your culinary imagination. Don't forget about the accessories. There's a host of them right now, and there is more to come in 2025. More on that as the end of the year and the beginning of the new year fast approach. Here's the bottom line. The best ceramics in the biz, patented technology, true two-zone cooking capabilities, and multiple sizes of ovals. Visit PrimoGrill.com for a dealer near you because they are only sold through a dealer network. You can check them out on Facebook or Instagram. Everybody by this point is ready for a Primo. That's PrimoGrill.com. PrimoGrill.com. We're back to wrap the first hour. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. You gotta unmute yourself, otherwise sound doesn't make it through. Jess, did you hear that I had myself on mute?
Great. I don't give a fuck.
All right. No more updates going forward for you. Wow. That's my favorite new sound drop. I have to think of ways to work it in. Every single time, every single show, I have to do it. That's now a 2-week-old show. If you missed that one, go back and get it in the podcast feed. You can subscribe to the show by subscribing to the podcast feed. The easiest way is to go to thebbqcentralshow.com/subscribe. All right, if you missed Alex Pope, you can get him on podcast. Of course you can. It's the only way you're getting him right now. I feel like I am in show mode. It's new content. It's new to you. It's not bonus content. It's new content. How about that? All right, we are pointing to the second hour. And you are only listening this time to the Barbecue Central Show. So refresh your libations, and we will be back with hour number 2 of the Barbecue Central Show. Who knows what kind of nonsense will ensue? Stick around. I'll be right back.